What if I told you that one of the most colorful, cheerful, and innocent cartoons of your childhood was hiding some of the darkest, strangest secrets in plain sight? That the Powerpuff Girls, yes, the sugar, spice, and everything nice trio, wasn't just a cute Saturday morning cartoon, but a show that slipped in adult jokes, sinister details, and even hidden tragedies that most kids never caught. And here's the craziest part. Once you see them, you can't unsee them. Before we begin, take a moment to like and subscribe to my channel. This helps keep the channel going. Now, let's rewind for a second. The Powerpuff Girls first aired in 1998 on Cartoon Network, created by Craig McCracken. For many of us, this was peak childhood television, a world where Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup fought villains like Mojo Jojo and the Gangrene Gang, all while juggling their kindergarten lives. But the thing is, at the time, it felt like harmless fun. The bright pastel colors, the quick jokes.
Why don't you come to my house for some milk and cookies?
Sure, as long as Sweet Cheeks is going.
Of course I will.
The catchy intro song. Everything screamed for kids. Yet, hidden beneath those layers of neon and bubblegum, McCracken and his team were quietly pushing boundaries. Some of these details were intentional Easter eggs. Others? They were shadows that slipped through the cracks of corporate censorship. You probably remember Bubbles as the sweet, giggly one, always drawing animals, speaking in her baby voice, and crying at the drop of a hat. But did you ever notice the times she snapped? The moments where her eyes went wide, her voice deepened, and she unleashed pure violence?
Why don't you pick on someone your own size?
It wasn't an accident. Writers used Bubbles to show that beneath sweetness, there's potential for chaos. It's unsettling when you rewatch those scenes as an adult. The show plays with contrast, innocence versus brutality, in ways that most kid shows never dared to. And then there's him, the villain who terrified even the most fearless kids. With his devilish claws, high heels, and eerily effeminate voice, him wasn't just another bad guy. He was a deliberate subversion of what a villain was supposed to look like. The contrast between his flamboyant appearance and his bone-chilling power hinted at deeper, darker commentaries.
Me? Yes, sir. What is it?
You won't believe what just happened.
The Powerpuff Girls just broke in unexpected.
What? How did you know?
The same thing happened to me and Fuzzy Lumpkins. He's on the...
Some say about gender identity or gender dysphoria. Others about how society fears what it can't categorize. Now here's something you probably never noticed. The Powerpuff Girls was one of the first cartoons to blend violent superhero action with minimalist, almost abstract backgrounds. Those blank-colored cityscapes, the repetitive geometric buildings, they weren't lazy animation. They were done in that way on purpose. Animators pushed away other details, so you would focus entirely on the motion, the punches, the crashes, the explosions. Every fight scene became a kind of ballet, with the girls' tiny figures colliding against surreal, simplified worlds. And about those fight scenes, listen closely. Ever notice how every punch and crash was paired with sound effects that felt almost too real? That's because the team used exaggerated Foley techniques, smashing vegetables, breaking wood, even distorting animal sounds, to make every hit feel like it hurt. The cute aesthetic of the girls clashed violently with these hyper-dramatic soundscapes. It wasn't just animation, it was art disguised as comedy. But here's where things get darker. Reportedly, Cartoon Network executives were constantly at war with McCracken and his writers. The studio wanted a kid-friendly hit. The creators wanted something more rebellious. Take, for example, the infamous banned episode, See Me, Feel Me, Know Me. It featured a rock opera-style storyline where a gnome tempts the girls with promises of peace if they give up their powers. But the imagery? It was full of religious undertones, from crucifix-like poses to satanic references. The episode was quietly pulled from American broadcast, only airing overseas. Justified or not? You be the judge of that. And that wasn't the only time. Jokes slipped past censors, like the mayor's secretary, Ms. Bellum, whose face you never see, but whose body is constantly sexualized in a show meant for kids. Or that moment where Buttercup collects the teeth of villains as trophies. Dark, morbid humor, hidden inside candy-colored frames. And while we laughed, the people behind the show were burning out. Craig McCracken reportedly struggled with the constant tug-of-war between network restrictions and his creative vision. Some animators admitted in later interviews that they were encouraged to push the envelope, but also cautioned when executives thought they went too far. Imagine pouring your soul into a project, hiding Easter eggs and inside jokes to keep yourself sane, only to have half of it censored or misunderstood. That's the reality many of these animators lived with. And perhaps the saddest part? Many of the darker arcs, storylines that could have made the show even richer, were quietly scrapped, lost to the demands of being safe for kids. So the next time you think back on the Powerpuff Girls as just another wacky cartoon, remember, beneath the laughter, there were shadows. But here's the thing, we've only scratched the surface, because we're going even deeper. We'll uncover the hidden cultural references you completely missed, the conspiracies around certain characters, and the shocking final twist that will forever change the way you see this show. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. You probably remember the Powerpuff Girls as bold, colorful, and unapologetically violent at times. But what if I told you that behind the scenes, Cartoon Network was constantly battling with censors, fighting over what could and couldn't make it to air? One of the most infamous cases involved an episode where Bubbles supposedly Mojo Jojo. Of course, the show never used that word. They softened it, twisted it, edited it until Mojo was merely defeated in a cartoony explosion. But according to animators, the original storyboard was far darker, showing Mojo's base collapsing with him inside. It's chilling to think about how many other moments were diluted before reaching you. But here's the kicker. This censorship wasn't always about violence. Sometimes it was about suggestiveness. Going back to Miss Bellum, for example, she was deliberately drawn as a faceless, hyper-feminine figure.
Huh? What do you say I call you Sweet Cheeks?
So long, girls! Oh, Miss Bellum, don't you just love those Powerpuff Girls?
Adults watching got the joke, kids didn't. But network executives? They were terrified. In later seasons, she was pushed to the sidelines. Reportedly, executives thought she was too distracting. It's a reminder, the show you loved wasn't always the show the creators wanted you to see. Here's where it gets juicy. When artists feel censored, they fight back in clever, subtle ways. If you pause carefully in certain episodes, you'll catch graffiti on city walls that never should have been there. One frame reportedly had the word censored scribbled in the background as a sly protest. Another episode had a split-second drawing of a sign reading, "No fun allowed," an inside joke among the crew. And then there are the monsters. Ever notice how some villains look a little too grotesque? That was intentional. According to interviews, designers would slip in details the censors wouldn't notice, like extra gore, sharper teeth, or references to old horror films. It was their way of saying, we're still here, and we're not softening everything for you. So the next time you rewatch, ask yourself, how much of what you saw was meant for kids? And how much was a secret wink from frustrated adults? We often talk about cartoons like they're made by machines. But every frame, every joke, every piece of dialogue came from people, overworked, sometimes underpaid, and often pushed to their limits. Craig McCracken, this awesome creator, once admitted he worked brutal hours just to keep the show on schedule. Whole teams pulled all-nighters to finish an episode. Animators were literally sleeping in their offices, fueled by coffee and desperation. And the cost wasn't just physical, it was emotional. Some writers reportedly left midway through the series, burnt out from the constant grind. Others watched their ideas get watered down by executives and left feeling heartbroken. It's easy to remember the show as fun and lighthearted, but behind the curtain, it took a toll. Here's something that will sting. The Powerpuff Girls you saw wasn't the full story. Did you know there were entire character arcs that never saw daylight? For example, an early draft had the Rowdy Rough Boys returning in a multi-episode saga, not just a one-off comeback. They would have grown, evolved, and posed a serious threat to the girls, but Cartoon Network pulled the plug. Too dark, they said. And then there was a scrapped backstory for him, the devilish, high-heeled villain. According to whispers from the writing room, him was supposed to represent more than just evil. He was meant to be an allegory for fear itself, an embodiment of what scares children the most. Entire drafts painted him as a shapeshifter feeding on the girls' insecurities. But again, Executives wanted something lighter. Imagine how much deeper the show could have gone. Now, brace yourself, because this last secret isn't hidden in an old script or buried in production notes. It's hiding in plain sight. In the final episode of the original series, the show ends with the Powerpuff Girls being celebrated as heroes, the city of Townsville cheering, everything wrapped up in a neat bow. But look closer. Look at the professor. He smiles, but it's forced. And in the very last moments, the narrator says, "And so, once again, the day is saved, thanks to the Powerpuff Girls." It sounds cheerful, but listen carefully.
So once again, the day is saved. Thank you, the Powerpuff Girls.
The tone is almost bitter, almost weary, almost like he's not celebrating, he's warning you. Many fans believe this was intentional, a quiet acknowledgement that the cycle never ends, that Townsville will always be attacked, that the girls will never grow up, that their childhood is trapped in amber. And isn't that the saddest truth of all? The Powerpuff Girls aren't just superheroes, they're children doomed to fight forever, never allowed to move on, never allowed to be normal. So what do we take from all this? That even in something as colorful and sweet as the Powerpuff Girls, there are shadows lurking in the corners, censorship, exhaustion, missed potential, and a bittersweet ending that most viewers never caught. But maybe that's why the show still haunts us. It wasn't just a kid's cartoon, it was a mirror, reflecting the creativity, struggles, and compromises of the people who made it. And now, the question is yours. When you re-watch the Powerpuff Girls, will you see just the sugar, spice, and everything nice? Or will you see the cracks in the surface, the secrets stitched into the fabric of every episode? If this video brought back memories from your childhood, let me know in the comments. Also, which hidden detail shocked you the most? And if you want me to dive into another classic, maybe Sailor Moon, Dastardly and Muttley, or even Courage the Cowardly Dog, hit that like button and subscribe. Because trust me, there are still secrets waiting to be uncovered.